Hello, lovely people, and welcome back to Love and Romance, a study of intimacy. Where we left off, we were in the car with Lee, and we were just driving to a cabin for the week to research sex. That was not something I would think about now. I began to focus on my practice. What would I write? How would I write it? It was odd indeed to think about writing sex, but that was the oddity of being a romance writer. Our trip indeed went for 3 hours. During the time, I bounced ideas off of Lee, who gave me honest criticism each time. Criticism to every single thing I said. By the time I finally decided what to write, we arrived at a forest trail and entered a stretch of a land littered with cabins. Wow! Seeing all the cabins made me feel like I'd stepped into a new world. I was always a city girl, so to experience living away from the bustle of the city was going to be interesting. At last, Lee pulled up and parked in front of a large cabin, one that seemed to be larger than the others.
Here we are.
I stepped out the car to take in the sight, smelling the fresh air of the forest around us. Everything was definitely different from the city. The air was much cleaner and the sights were calm, as calm as I could ever imagine. It was a shame that I'd only experienced being away from the city for a short period of time, but I could only assume many other people were in the same boat. Lee stepped up beside me, my bag at his side, and crossed his arms.
So, what do you think?
This is amazing! Lee smiled and reached down into his pocket, pulling out a keychain with a green tag and waving it to me.
Here are the keys. It's all yours for the week.
I smiled and took the keys, running my fingers along the teeth of the key in the soft amazement. This was truly happening. I could barely take it in. Calmly, I just looked back up at Lee and he gestured to the cabin, waiting for me to move. I nodded and rushed to the cabin, climbing up the steps and unlocking the front door to open it. Lee followed and smiled as I stepped into the building and took in sight of the room in front of me. Wow! So, this is a real cabin.
Did you think it wasn't?
I puffed out my cheeks and stuck my tongue out at Lee, watching him enter and close the door behind, before placing my bag on the ground behind him. I've lived in the city my whole life. This is my first time in a cabin, so don't tease. Lee laughed and leaned against the wall near the door. I took that moment to absorb everything around me. It was all cleaned and prepped, and whoever had the keys, that was a lucky person, was me. Was it strange to think I expected the place to be full of dust or cobwebs? Then again, this building along with the others were probably rented out a lot, since it was part of a business, so the upkeep was probably to be expected. I shook my head and grinned at Lee. Thanks again, Lee. This really means a lot. Lee smiled and nodded, pushing off the wall.
Anything I can do to help, Amelia. Now, I will head into town and grab some food for us.
For us? I was confused and tilted my head. For us? You're staying too? Lee nodded, crossing his arms.
I'll be sleeping on the couch, but I'll be staying to help you focus on your writing. You know, cooking and cleaning and stuff.
Wait, you don't have to.
I insist. As your manager, I want to make sure you use this break wisely. So I'll be making sure that you don't waste time when you don't have to.
I pressed my lips together, unsure of this. However, I understood why. He was right. The less time I spent cooking and cleaning, the more time spent focused on making sure my scenes worked. I guess that was another thing I could thank Lee for. Are you sure? A week's a long time to be stuck in a cabin with me. Lee and I laughed, with Lee shaking his head slightly. Ha ha ha, so funny.
I think I'll be fine. Besides, if you need any help, I can lend you my brain.
Delicious brains. I nodded, thankful for what Lee was doing and offering. If I was stuck, he'd probably be able to help me with a second pair of eyes as well as a resource. I expected him to know his way around sex as well, so his view on it would be helpful. Thanks, Lee. You spoil me, you know that? Lee laughed and turned back to the door, opening it.
If it helps, then it's no problem. All right, I will be back.
Hey! Lee looked back at me as I tossed him the keys to the cabin. He He caught it with ease and stared at me in confusion. So you don't get locked out? I'll be working while you're gone. Lee smiled and nodded before heading out. As I heard him get into his car, I let out a sigh. My week of sex writing practice had begun. I took in the smell of the cabin one last time before grabbing my bag and marching towards where I assumed the bedroom was. The bedroom was so pretty, and so much prettier than I'd ever imagined. It was simple yet elegant, with a calming air about it and its structure, and had this great aesthetic. I smiled and gently placed my bag on the bed before beginning to unpack. This week was going to be so fun. I love that there's wine glasses right here. Oh, how delightful. As I finally removed my laptop, I opened it and turned it on, listening to it wake up as I placed my folded clothes in the empty drawers on the side. Amelia Waters. Passwords, Knights of the Heavenly Blade 2011. My laptop, recognizing my voice and entering my sequence into itself, unlocked and opened to my desktop screen. I loved the voice activation software on my laptop. Not only did it make sure no one could access it without my voice, but it also helped when I wanted to write without my hands. As I unpacked my sundries, I cleared my throat and spoke once again. Tara, open Word document. Start new project. Upon my command, the computer opened my word processor to a fresh new page, awaiting instructions. I paused, staring at the bed. How should I start? My test and practice began with a simple question. How did one really start about going to a sex scene? Obviously the story had to be started somewhere, and the romantic or sexual tension drove the pair or group to dive into their desires. But I was about to hop straight into sex. It was just practice after all. I shook my head. Now, there was not the time to go over details. I couldn't spend time building a story and never get to the sex. That would be so counterproductive. No, I had to use characters I'd already created to start. Title: Knights of Heavenly Blade. Characters: Sir Gerald and Princess Jasmina. Enter. Their names appeared on the documents as the memory of their characterization came into my mind. They were side characters in my novel Knights of Heavenly Blade. Sir Gerald was the son of a king who, instead of taking up his birthright, devoted himself to serve the princess who had saved his life. Christmas time? Princess Jasmina. Jasmina, despite having a wise and mature upbringing, was a pure and innocent angel, ignorant of love and pleasure. Even as the book ended, Jasmina remained as pure as the blooming flower. Her heart, however, certainly belonged to Sir Gerald, and his belonged to her. Their love was perfect, and the one you'd see in movies that always ended tragically wrong. They were the perfect guinea pigs to practice sex writing with. Jasmina was shy and ignorant of sex, while Sir Gerald was intelligent and charming enough to let her lead and direct him. I grinned from ear to ear as I lifted my laptop into one of my hands and my bag of sundries with a free hand. I quickly moved the bag into the bathroom before returning to the living room, ready to get started.
Jasmina, I love you with every ounce of my being.
Oh, he said, holding Jasmina's hands in his. Her face flushed at Gerald's words, causing her to turn her gaze away.
Sir Gerald, I love you as well, but...
But what? What, princess?
But I am afraid.
Her hands trembled. Her body was fearful of what was to come, having never experienced the warmth of a person's body in a bed. Her knight, however, lowered his head to her hands and softly kissed each other.
Please, fear not, my sweet Jasmina. I give myself to you,
Ooh.
to have me however you will. If your heart is not ready, then please know that I will understand.
My heart felt like jumping up and down in my chest. My mind wished for a sweet person like Gerald with how he treated Jasmina. It was kind of sad that I was getting mildly jealous over a fictional character. Shaking my head, I continued. I needed to use this momentum. Jasmina stared at her love, the knight who had captured her heart and the man who had given her his body and soul. She felt like crying in joy, feeling pure waves of elevation and happiness of their love.
Gerald.
Take me! She cupped his cheeks gently. I nodded with a smile. This was good. This was very good. He had a moment of conflict our characters were going to push forward. It would be slow, but would be worth the time going through it. Romantic sex was meant to be that way, slow and gentle with perfect harmony between the two people involved. Whether it was a couple or even a group, the idea of adding a third person crossed my mind, but I quickly shook my head. I had to focus on perfecting what I could for now before going wild with the scenes. I continued. Jasmina's hand quaked, but she trusted Gerald. With every ounce of her being, she knew that he would never hurt her and trusted him to be gentle and loving with her.
Please, be slow.
Gerald smiled, gently running a hand through her hair and combing it between her ear. She looked so sweet in the candlelight of her room, a hot blush running over her face. He nodded and sweetly pressed his forehead to hers, cupping her hand.
I promise, Jasmina.
Gerald gently walked. Gerald does not sound I'm sorry. The name Gerald does not sound sexy at all. It's great, I see what they're doing, but it doesn't sound sexy. G-Man sounds sexier. G-Man gently walked to the bed, slowly sitting her down on the edge and kneeling before her.
Ask anything of me, my love, and I shall do it. This night is for you.
Oh, J-Man, I would love a bacon sandwich. Jasmina quickly shook her head and cupped his hand in hers. Her heart pounded at the thought. She didn't wish for the focus to be on her. She wanted tonight to be about them.
No, tonight is for us.
Then what will you have me do?
G-Man gently moved in, leaning towards her and gently resting his head in her hands. Jasmina stared deep into his eyes, becoming lost in their jade tint. How she loved the gaze into his eyes. They burned for her, and she felt her heart beat quickly and quicken at the gaze between them.
Kiss me.
Like you wanna be loved. Oh, he's not gonna be like a feather, is he? Let's be honest. He's probably this, I don't know, 200-pound knight. In his bloody armour, he's gonna be hefty. Let's just say he immediately pushed forward. I stared at what I had said. He was definitely following our orders. I continued. Catching her lips in his, Jasmina let out a gasp before wrapping her hands around his head and hugging his body to hers. Her body shivered at the intense feeling, but slowly went along with it. His lips claimed hers as his own, slowly pressing against them with the love and passion and burned in his heart for her. His desire flared like a racing stallion, but he held on, knowing to keep steady for Jasmina and innocence. I continued on until Lie? Your name is Lie now! Lee finally arrived back with fast food and groceries. Somehow he carried it all on his own. Had to admire his strength, but I merely watched him store the groceries away as I saved my progress. Welcome back.
Hey, how's the practice going?
It's going good. Just started chapter 1.
Oh, want to tell me about it?
I grinned. Knowing he was going to like who I paired together, he really liked Knights of Heavenly Blade, and G-Man was by far his favourite character. Well, I decided to use G-Man and Jasmina from Knights to practice with. Since Jasmina's a virgin and all, it was a good opportunity to practice slow romantic sex writing. It's so sweet. I'm also a little jealous of Jasmina. As Lee turned around and raised an eyebrow at me, I pointed at him. Don't you dare make fun of me. A single woman like me is allowed to dream and be jealous of fiction.
Uh-huh.
Ugh. Lee pressed his lips together, failing to hide an amusement smirk. I pouted at him, making him laugh.
Well, Gerald will definitely treat her well. Jasmina needs it to be slow and sweet.
I nodded. Lee knew the characters as well as I did, which made me glad that he was my manager. Right. Lee finally finished putting everything away and handed me a bag of fast food before excusing himself to check out the place. Apparently he'd never been in the cabin he wanted to check the first place. Out first. As he called out there was a second bathroom, I smiled. At least you wouldn't have to sleep on the couch. Bedroom, not bathroom. I ate my food and worked at perfecting the section I'd written. Obviously, the fast food's getting too much for me. I have a food coma right now. Well, what I started with was okay. I needed to add visual aesthetics, such as the light of the room, the smell of the candles, everything that helped set the mood. The room was often an overlooked part of any story that many writers had passed on. I, however, knew better. A simple rustle of the bedsheets could make or break the tension, while the smell of sweets needed to be controlled by the temperature of the room and of the people within it. There was a lot of work that went into writing. You had to be a director, a painter, a choreographer, a designer, a technician, and a god all at once. It was tiring to say the least. The day quickly drifted into the night, and I finished the detail of the scene. Lee, as he would, cooked and passed me dinner. He had never cooked for me before, so he wanted me to try a scene and was nervous of the adventure. However, his first bite had sold me. His food was absolutely divine. I had to fight a moan from the first taste that hit my tongue. He laughed and ate his food, promising to cook as well as during the week. I was excited to say the very least. Everything seemed perfect and helped me accentuate the romance between Gerald and Jasmina tenfold. Damn it, I was meant to call him J-Man, not Jasmina. Words, all confusing. I smiled as I read over what I wrote before, closing my computer and letting out a yawn. Alright, time for bed. We are going to leave the episode here, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, please do leave a comment and subscribe below. Thank you, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.